All right, everybody. So I thought I would talk here a little bit about a couple of topics here that were coming up in chat. I'm also going to show you an article. Maybe some of you already found it in regards to the charges. I think this might have been the warrant for the charge related to that assault, but it gets into some of his background. But it appears currently, I don't think they're going to get into it. It appears currently he's under indictment federally. Now, it's a 15-page indictment. I don't know what it involves. I don't know if what he's got himself into, but it's definitely him because the name matches in the article here. So does the age and all of that stuff. So Wendy, I guess we'll address that here. So let me clarify a couple things that you're seeing right here. Georgia insanity law is one of the most controversial, and it's controversial because it's not as black and white as you think. Georgia insanity law says you can be schizophrenic, you can be insane, you can have mental illness, but the only factor is whether at the moment that you decided to commit the crime, you knew right from wrong. So if the state can prove that she was in and out, that there were times of lucidity, that she was lucid and aware of right and wrong at the time of death, then she is able to be found accountable, and she's able to be found legally accountable. Now, there's been a lot of case law, a lot of Supreme Court, for the Georgia Supreme Court, even all the way up to the United States Supreme Court, focusing on the vagueness of this law, but they have found it constitutional. Now, the way it works is in Georgia law, you are presumed to be sane. Now, remember, normally you would have, when you would approach a criminal case, you're presumed innocent. In Georgia, you're presumed to be sane. So the defense actually has to prove beyond a preponderance or by preponderance of evidence that she didn't know right from wrong, to which then it would kick in and trigger now the state would now have a burden as part of their burden now to prove beyond a reasonable doubt that she did know right from wrong due to mental defect. The other thing that they could, now schizophrenia, mental illness is not alone of itself. As I said, just proving that that's existence is not enough. However, if you can prove that she was driven by mental illness to the point that she was unable to perceive right or wrong, and that in that moment, for instance, she believes that this child is in danger, or she's part of a cult, or whatever, and that she had to act, and she's doing it as part of some sort of delusion, that would meet the standard. That is the one carve out that the defense has. So what the state's trying to do here, I believe, with these witnesses is a couple of things. One, trying to show that she's a individual who had a lot of anger, who had problems, but that knew right from wrong. Who, as you've heard him talk about, that she would come back and say, I'm sorry, I know I shouldn't have done that, but she's just got a lot of anger, she's got a lot of problems, but it's not insanity. It's not a lack of knowing right from wrong. Now, one of the biggest pieces of evidence, which you may have just flown right over everyone's head, was the fingerprint expert that was called today. And one of the things the state elicited was that the knife had no fingerprints. And you may think, oh, well, what does that matter? Well, one of the factors that's recognized under Georgia law is behavior before, behavior after of the defendant. And certain things like wiping blood up, cleaning off fingerprints is allowed to show that she knew right from wrong. In other words, the thought process is if you were insane, you would not have taken the time to clean off the fingerprints because you wouldn't have known you did anything wrong. Only someone who's aware that they did something wrong would clean off the fingerprints. Thereby, she might have every mental health issue under the sky, she might have schizophrenia. But that would be allowed to be put to the jury to show that at that moment that um, she was aware that what she was doing was wrong. So that fingerprint evidence, although it seems innocuous, it seems like, hey, well, maybe the defense is going to say maybe the someone else did it. Now, the defense may claim that Z did that to cover it up, or someone else did it. And if they can show that, if they can get testimony before the jury that that's what happened, but if they go the opposite direction and it's testified to that no one else says that they wiped it off, she's the only one in the room, that's going to demonstrate that when she stabbed the baby and she did what she did, that she had an awareness at the moment that she was wrong. The other thing Georgia is novel for is Georgia actually will allow for individuals to assess the defendant and make their own opinion. Those opinions can be given to the jury. So this gentleman, one of the reasons why he's brought in is because I believe, I'm not 100% certain, but I believe he's been around, he's around her all the way up, and I believe he was there that day. So it is perfectly allowable for the state to say, do you believe she knew right from wrong that day? And he's going to say, well, I think she was troubled, but yeah, I think she did, or I don't think she did. Now, if he wasn't present with her, the defense is going to be able to do that. But I have a feeling that's what we're building up to. Well, Joy, absolutely, there were a lot of people in there, but the point is that if they can show to the jury that knife was cleaned, who you have to think to yourself, why would anyone else clean the knife? I mean, the only person that might want to clean the knife is Z, but why would they clean a knife? Why would anyone else who knows this is a crime scene just go say, I'm going to go clean this knife off? That doesn't make a lot of sense. So there's really one person in the room who might, and that would be somebody who thinks they did something wrong. And the only person that we know, because the defense by stipulation has already said she's the one that did this. So therefore, um, she's, by process of elimination, but it's an argument that will be made to the jury in closing arguments. And it's an argument they can make to say she knew right from wrong, among other things. And part of it is the background here of the reason why they have this guy up here testifying is because her defense is that she was brainwashed into believing that she had to kill her baby to protect the baby because of this cult or whatever it was. And what they're demonstrating is through him is that he was intrinsically involved in this cult, into thinking, and that at no time was that ever said or was ever the thought process. Now, unfortunately, all of the mental health problems that she has is not enough to show she was insane. In fact, there's a separate, which is why she was delayed during the trial, because there's a separate thing you can do where you can say, let me see the term here. You could say that it's a special plea of insanity, and that's what they were using originally. And what that has to do with is it does not mean at the time, because again, insanity in Georgia is that you were unable to understand at that moment that you were from right from wrong of your actions. But special plea of insanity says you're unable to understand the proceedings, that your mental health is at such a degree that you're incapable of understanding the complexities of a trial. And because the Constitution requires an individual to be present for their own defense, at that point, trial can't go forward. And that's why they have her on all the medicines. That's why they had her. That's why the judge did the special colloquy at the beginning and said, hey, went through all these questions, said, are you on stuff? Are you aware? Do you know of what's happening? But Georgia is it's extremely difficult to win a case on insanity in Georgia. And it's because, you can put a doctor up on the stand and say, oh, this person went through all the extreme traumas that this young lady apparently went through. She was nuts. She was exhibiting all these things. But if they can show that she had even any type of inclination that what she was doing was wrong at the moment, even if it was for 20 seconds, and she says, I'm going to do this, and she knows she's wrong for doing it, but she does it anyways, even if it's giving in, okay? and this is a special designation that states even if she's giving into this. In other words, she might say she's schizophrenic and there's a voice, and if she say, and if they can prove she's telling somebody or says, "Hey, I knew it. This voice is telling me, and I just gave in." That does not absolve her from being punished. Um, you know, now Georgia says temporary, permanent. It doesn't matter if the defense can show at that moment that she was insane and that she was truly devoid of any ability at that moment, even if she gets treatment and it's now away, or it was just for whatever reason this momentary situation that kicked in. That matters not under the law. But what matters is whether or not she had any ability to know what she did was wrong. And like I said, it's extremely difficult. It's extremely difficult to get an insanity not guilty. And that's what the defense is facing. But that's why you're hearing the state, and that's why some of the things you're going to see probably come up here or come into the case here is going to be focused around things she said and did leading up until this. And the state is allowed to put opinions in to say, do you think she knew what was going on? Did she have the ability? When she yelled at that woman, she comes back and says, I know what I did was wrong. I apologized. Apologizing is also can be used against her in this instance. So if there was, again, I'm not sure if Z is going to testify or not. I believe he is. But if Z says that when he encountered her, she's like, I'm sorry, I did this. They can use that to say, hey, she knew what she did was wrong. She might have been in some sort of delusion, but she still knew what she did was wrong. And that is all Georgia law worries about. So that's where we're at with that. Now, let's show. I want to show you. Give me a moment here. I gotta switch up the deal here. Let me let's go. All right, sorry about that, guys. I had to figure out where I had this up. So this is the article I was talking about that has to do with this witness's case. So, wanted man who threatened. Well, I can't say those words, but you can read them yourself. This is him right there at the moment of arrest that he told on the witness stand. So it says last Friday, Sonoma County sheriffs that arrested Jason Spillers, a fugitive from North Carolina who had terrorized multiple Humboldt County residents for years with threats to, etc., torture or kill them. In early October, the Humboldt County Sheriff's Department put out a press release pointing at Spillers believed to be dangerous and maybe armed have been seen in Garberville. So, I mean, this guy is definitely not the peaceful guy that he's portrayed himself to be. So, the Sonoma County State Post that employees at a roadside assistance company grew suspicious after discovering he was a fugitive. That gets into, and there you can see, there he is. So, it's definitely him. They added, we'd like to thank the astute employees All right, so one of Spiller's Humboldt County victims, a young woman who grew up here and graduated from college elsewhere this year, and now you're going to get to hear some of his wonderful stuff that he's done with these women as we heard in the case. So we get to actually, is music on? Hold on. We'll turn that off. My apologies. Did not realize I had that set up. I think this might have been I had that set up previously. I apologize. I was using it for something else, I guess. Anyways, we'll go back through here. Make sure that everybody can hear what I was saying. But basically, it gets into talking about that he is a fugitive from North Carolina, that he had terrorized multiple Humboldt County residents with threats of I can't say that word, torture or to kill them. And then we're down here. There's a picture of him. You can see that that's him. That's definitely him. But a young woman who grew up here and graduated from college, this is one of his victims, elsewhere this year, spoke to us by phone last night and described how the man terrorized her and people she knows. Please note that this writer knows her personally. For privacy and safety reasons, her name and the names of others are being withheld. According to the young woman, now contrast this with what he talked about on the stand. She first met him in 2017 with a group of friends from Humboldt County. It was my freshman year of college, and we all went to Coachella together. One of her friends had brought Spillers. He spent that weekend hanging out with us. He seemed pretty mellow, a classic hippie that you can tell did drugs. He had some quirky ideas. We all know that. For instance, he said he believed the earth was flat, she explained. After the weekend was over, she went back to school and everyone else went back to Humboldt. Apparently, over the next few months, Spillers visited with one of the girls' families and became overly attached and controlling. Go figure. I don't know the exact turning point, but within about 6 months of Coachella, he clearly took a downward spiral and started making threats to the family of the other girl, she told us. She doesn't want to divulge publicly much information about his obsession, in part because it would help identify the family. So apparently the guy has problems with obsessions. I can kind of tell that. Spillers no longer was in the area, presumably returning to North Carolina, but his voice and message contacts continued. It just kept getting worse. And apparently, there's some examples. You better still have your intact like it was supposed to be before I got blocked by your pitiful mother and the demon. If not, then it's 100% the end of very soon. If so, then it's not 100% that violent gets to live. Wow. I'm on the way. You'll be easy to find. See you soon. These are some messages that he wrote. How could you even give these girls compliments? They are not the cutest or the best at all, and you know it. That's called being fake, which is called being hateful and violent. Hey, sorry, you're going to be dead really soon, and you're going to be tortured before you die. If blank is not a virgin for me like she was supposed to be before you got in my way, then blank is going to die too. I'm on the way right now. Jesus. So much for that very nice guy who's just trying to help mentor women. Clearly. And again, if this is him, imagine what Z is like. And again, I think he might have been maybe projecting some things that they were doing to women, claiming, because if you saw the defendant's look when he was attempting to say that she had all these things happen by her family, it looked like she was saying like BS with her ass. So it's very disturbing, as you can see here. The accusations we're continuing with the article here. The accusations got crazier and crazier. There's lots of death threats. She said he started leaving perverse threats towards an underage girl in voicemails and texts. And remember, he called himself like the baby whisperer. So imagine, we don't know what it is that he's indicted for federally, but I have to imagine it has something to do with this type of behavior that was probably done through the internet. Hell, it could have to do with kids, but they're not allowed. The state has obviously agreed to keep it out. Maybe it'll come out on cross-examination. He started saying sexual things about the minor. The young woman told us He said that she was his and nobody has a right to her, and he was going to come take her virginity. Jesus. And after the family and the young woman's friends group blocked him on social media from their phones, he expanded his threats to those near them. My brother got threats. My dad got threats from him. There would be weeks that would be really bad with lots of threats, and then he would be silent for a while. This probably went on for 2 years, and then he took to Instagram and would make videos and would send us super long messages on Instagram and comment on our pictures. When they would block his account, she said he would start new accounts with new names. He would go to friends' accounts. I mean, this guy's nuts. Again, uh, I think there was more to the allegations that he was locked up, on a misdemeanor and held, uh, without bond on an alleged offense that only was going to punish him for where the sentence was only 75 days. I think he was picked up and arrested for things far greater than that. And obviously he's in federal custody right now. You can go on Pacer and see things on his docket. You just can't see the documentation. His indictment was sealed for a while. And then he also now has his attorney, I guess, just quit. So I don't know what they do for a living, Karen. They probably, honestly, they're probably on some form of disability, or who knows. I mean, it sounds like, based on what you heard from the homeowner where this occurred, where these guys would just kind of get people into their grasp, and I think get people to support them. With all their craziness. But wow, that's all I can say on that, is just some crazy stuff. I mean, this guy's a nut. This guy is a truly certifiably just insane. I mean, obviously, if you couldn't tell by the drinking of his urine and believing that is the standard of normalcy, if you drink your urine or not. Hopefully maybe he'll get some help eventually, because I think he's very dangerous. And if he is going to be out on the street soon, I hope he stays away from wherever I'm at, because he just does not seem to be like a very stable dude at all. So that's where we stand on that with him. So he's definitely not the man of the people that he seems to try to make himself out to be. Certainly not the mentor for young women. Simply trying to shower them with love and affection and guide them in the world. Absolutely not. That does not appear to be his methods. He seems to be just batshit crazy, with a very bad obsessive compulsive disorder that, when he doesn't get his way, turns potentially deadly. And I think it's good that he's off the street right now. So, and hopefully until he gets help, he'll remain off the street. But it remains a question mark. And remember, guys, the issue in Georgia, listen, we're going to hear her. Obviously, this is a troubled young lady. Okay. This is a woman that, maybe suffered at the hands of her biological family, certainly suffered at the hands of these guys. You can certainly see a little preview if she was hanging out with these guys. And this is a guy that her man respected, and he's treating women like this and doing things like this, that she was not living in a positive, loving environment. She was living in an environment that would breed exactly what happened here. And the sad part about this is that, unfortunately, like I said, Georgia law is not going to necessarily excuse what she did, nor should it, in my opinion, when you do something like this. But without her defense being able to show that at that moment that she was so deluded that she failed to conceive or perceive or have any ability to understand what she did was wrong. And I think that's going to be a very, very difficult standard for the defense to meet. I think they're going to be able to get the instruction. I think they're going to be able to put the burden on the state. I think the state knows that, but I think it's going to be very difficult in the end for this jury to say, well, I don't think she knew right from wrong. Maybe. I mean, we haven't heard the case yet. I think, there's a lot to this. this is a complex case, and it's going to take a jury that is going to need to hopefully follow the law to get this verdict right, because it is not an easy case. It is not one you can just look at and understand it, because Georgia laws, when it comes to insanity, are extremely complex. They're extremely vague, and again, I think the state is hoping to overwhelm the senses of the jury with the tragedy of this, and say, you know what, this woman is gonna needs to just be punished. But I think a lot of people are going to say, wait a minute, when somebody, a mother specifically, does something this terrible, we have to stop and at least consider, wait a minute, is this, is it really possible that she did this knowing right from wrong, knowing it was wrong and did it anyways? But the state's theory in this case is that she is a angry person who was abused by a lot of people, who was abused by this guy, who was abused by the cult members or whatever it was. They messed with her mind. And this guy, she didn't like the polygamous lifestyle. And this guy was basically ready to dump her. And she basically said, you know what, then I'm taking the baby with me, and I'm going to kill the baby, and I'm going to kill myself. And I think, again, you have to also understand that the fact she killed herself or attempted to kill herself can also be used as knowing what she did was wrong when she was doing it, because it's about right. It's about the knowledge of right and wrong, the wiping off of the knife, all of that. Now, one thing I will say, that I think that's going to be difficult probably for people is, depending on if who wiped the knife off. It might have been Z, because she was stabbed pretty bad. So, but if they can show that she might have attempted to wipe fingerprints off that knife, in an attempt to set him up, which might be what he's going to say, that would be enough for the state to say she knew right from wrong. Let's see here. I'm just catching up here on the chat. She wanted to get herself and her baby away from the psychos any way she could. Wendy says, Karen H., he skirted that question around that question. I'm guessing they didn't work. Let's see here. Afternoon, y'all. Yep. Yeah, I mean, it does not. It appears my assumption is they did not work. That their version of work was marketing themselves to people and finding people who liked this psychotic kind of thought process of the world, and that he would get people to support him, make donations, open up their house, and then they would come in and do teachings and things of that nature. I mean, you heard he witnessed whatever the hell that ray gun was, or something that just like blows up cancer. That he witnessed miraculous healings. So this guy definitely a little bit of they were going after their own. And again, I think this Z guy, whatever, I can't remember what the name is that they call him now, but we'll just call him Z. The Z guy, the leader of the baby daddy, that guy's got internet videos. Apparently, he's got stuff on YouTube. You can go find them. According to the homeowner, they're still up today. So, anyway, so remember, guys, this is on an hour delay. So 2:00, this will be back up and running, or a little after 2. And then it's going to go from 2 to 6, because everything's an hour removed unless they run out of witnesses. And I guess I don't know how much longer this guy has, but I think we've made it pretty far through the story to where they're going to turn him over to cross-examination pretty soon. And then we're kind of get a feel here, I think, after lunch, exactly why the state called this guy. Because again, if this is all we get out of him, I don't really see this as a helpful witness to the state. Besides maybe just trying to say, hey, she, did some crazy stuff and acknowledged she was wrong after the fact. But what we're worried about is at that moment, was she aware of right and wrong? I mean, I guess he does add in the fact that, or at least he can talk about what the cult was like and what they learned. I have a feeling in this case we are going to hear from her. I could be wrong on that, but I think we are going to hear from her because I think she's going to have to talk about whatever was going on or whatever she thought. Maybe not. Maybe they won't put her on, but we'll see. Um, but what an interesting dude. I mean, really a little bit crazy in my opinion. Um, so we'll have to see here. Um, and check it out. All right. Well, I'm going to jump off here and get myself some lunch here while we wait for the break. Um, let's see here. Hannah B says, please don't knock alternative remedies unless. Oh no, I if you're talking to me, Hannah B, I have not. I'm not knocking alternative remedies. However, I think the specific remedy he was talking about, I don't think that is extremely credible. But no, there are definitely things, vitamins and things you can take. My grandfather lived to 90. He was 95 years old, and he swore by all sorts of different things that he was taking, supplements and herbal supplements. There's certainly things that can that can help you out. But I think specifically what he was talking about uh, drinking of urine, using that whatever that laser gun was that he was talking about. I think we might be on the fringe. But hey, listen, if he saw results, who are we to argue, right? We haven't seen it. And again, this was part of what the judge talked about yesterday, that he was wanting to use this as a platform to get people to research it, which I know I'm going to look into it and see, and so will others. Um, so he's definitely getting the information out. So he has accomplished that, if nothing else. Um, but interesting stuff. But we will be back, like I said. I guess now about a half hour. So I will see you guys in the courtroom.